Hi, friends. I'm Courtney. I'm a performer, speaker, and a writer. I'm a mama to three crazy boys and a super sweet dog. I decided 12 years ago that I needed to create a business that worked for me instead of me working for it. I'm a multi passionate entrepreneur who may be considered a serial entrepreneur by some, but then I realized that all of my businesses focused on connection, community, and creating an incredible experience. I cannot wait to share with you how to make small but mighty changes in your life to affect your overall well being and create a life and business you want to get up in the morning for. That's right, my friends. I am the Renaissance Mama. Hi, friends. It's me, Courtney, the Renaissance Mama, and I am so excited to have you here today. I have a very special guest, and I think you guys are going to absolutely love her because I do. So, how can you not? Please welcome my guest, Stephanie Dean. Steph, say hi to my lovely audience.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
Oh, awesome. Well, Stephanie is a very talented woman. She is a business owner, but what I love best about Stephanie and her business is that it is constantly changing and growing and adapting. And every time I see something pop up on social or I hear about what she's up to, I'm like, oh my gosh, how is she doing that as well? I feel like you have this really great talent of being like, I love to do all these things, so let's put it all together, which is
Yeah.
also something that I love to do. So I thought Stephanie would be a wonderful person to hop onto the show. So Steph, can you start off by sharing with my audience what you're kind of known for?
Yeah. So I guess to put it simply, I'm known for shaking my booty, really, is what I'm known for. Yeah.
Yeah.
In the simplest terms, that's usually what I'm known for. So yeah, I have a fitness studio that specializes in Zumba fitness, which is all about dance, Latin music. So that's primarily what we're known for. Although we do other group fitness activities as well, Zumba seems to be the one that everybody is kind of drawn to. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm known for in the community.
I love that so much. So how long have you been doing this for now? Like, I feel like it's been quite a while.
Yeah, in April on the 14th, it'll be 11 years.
Oh my God, that's like so soon. Wow,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
incredible.
yeah.
Good
I'll
for
be celebrating my
you.
11-year anniversary. Yeah.
And let's be honest, I feel like if you've done anything and made it through COVID, it's almost like dog years. You can add on
Right?
7 to that or
Exactly. I
something.
actually had to think about it the other day. I was like, is it 11? Because it feels like way longer.
Right? Yes. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, 11 years, that is so incredible. So congrats on that, because
Thank
that
you.
in itself is absolutely amazing. So,
Thank
okay.
you.
So then like take me back to those 11 years ago. What made you want to start your own thing?
So, for me, I was going through my own health journey, and I had reached a point in my life where I was at 225 pounds, and yeah, and I
I
had
didn't know that.
yeah. So I had printed. This is when we used to print pictures, like from our camera.
Yep.
I had brought it into blacks to get some pictures developed for a
Right.
friend's birthday, right? And I was making her this like collage of pictures of us, and I'm going through the pictures, and I was like, when did this happen? Like I didn't know this had happened, kind of thing. And I was like, okay, it's time to start, paying attention to what I'm doing, get my health right. And back then it was just weight, right?
Yeah.
I need to lose weight. I have to lose weight. And so I had signed up for all these, different easy fixes, quick. I want it gone quick. And it was the worst experience of my life. I spent thousands of dollars, and I went to this clinic that their way of motivating was to say things like, summer's coming. Do you really want to look like a beached whale?
Oh,
And, like just, yeah.
no.
And I'm getting goosebumps telling you now, and I was devastated. I was heartbroken. I felt so bad about myself. It didn't help me at all. I gained more weight because then I just got super depressed.
Of course.
And, then I found my way kind of into Zumba. I started taking Zumba classes. I started going to the Y. I started watching what I was eating. And then it just kind of started happening naturally. And, when the opportunity came to me, I didn't really want to do it. I was like, nope, I can't do that. I'm not doing it. But I started kind of as a sub for somebody. And then I thought, the fitness industry, in my opinion, was going in a direction that I didn't believe in. I didn't like how everything was about weight loss and having to look a certain way and having to be a certain size. And I thought, I have two options, or I have three options. I can do nothing and I can say nothing. I can complain about what happened to me, or I can try and be the change in this industry and change the focus of what movement and health means. Why is it that healthy means a certain size? Why is it that healthy means a number on a scale? So I just thought, you know what, the only thing I can do is create a space where people don't feel that way, hopefully. So that's how I kind of got into it.
That's so awesome. I have to tell you, I am a huge fan of Zumba, but I am the crazy girl in Zumba because also I'm pretty athletic. So my workouts, I feel like I have to really sweat. So if somebody is at a Zumba class, I will be like, pardon me, but I need space.
I need you to move.
I am the one, if you're jumping a little bit, I am jumping as hard as I
love
can,
it.
and arms out and stretch. I am the crazy, but I love it. And at the end, I'm dying because I just push out so much. I just love it so much. So Zumba is
I love it.
Fun. Yeah.
I love having people like that in class though, because it shows people different things. Number one, it shows people that you can be free, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that's kind of the whole point of Zumba. It's just do what feels right to you. That's why we don't break steps down. That's why we don't, it has to look like this. It doesn't have to look like me. It has to look like you. And if you is big and crazy, then be big and crazy. And Zumba also helped me get that way for myself, because for years I was hiding. I'm the big girl in the back corner. I don't really talk to people outside of here. My students don't believe that I am terrified to be around people, because on stage, I'm just But if you put me outside, I'm I don't know how to talk to people. I don't know what to do. But Zumba helped me kind of get out of that area, right? Kind of helped me see who I was and realize I don't want to be like that. I want to be a little bit more, energetic and out there and be. So I love that for in here too, because I get to see how people really are.
Oh yeah.
And it also helps other people in the room, right? It's one thing if your instructor's being all silly, but it's another thing if there's people in the room that are doing it. It helps people to relax, right? So I love that kind of energy in a class.
I was gonna say, that's probably my second favorite part of Zumba is watching the other people love it. I'm not watching them because they're doing the wrong steps. I don't care about any of that. I love seeing them being so into it and loving it more. There's times where I'm almost in tears because I'm look how much that lady loves it. I love it too.
Yeah.
It's it's just so exciting.
Exactly. My favorite for me is the back row person. I like that back row person to come to the middle row, then up to the front row. Then they're getting on stage with me. And I'm I see you. I see you shining bright.
Oh, I love that so much. So amazing. Okay. So that's where you started. That sounds like that's what happens, right? You see a need, you feel like you've made a change yourself, and then you saw, okay, I want to make changes. Now, this is where the story gets a little crazy. How has your business, because I feel like even as an outsider, it has changed and adapted many, many times over in the last 11 years. So can you share a little bit of that?
Yeah, it's been a hard journey for everybody in the last couple of years, right? I'm no different than anybody else in that sense. But we've seen a lot of change in terms of, I used to share the business with somebody, so going from working with somebody to working completely, and I say completely on my own, but I am not completely on my own. I have such an amazing community of members that I'm never really alone. So, and I've really had to latch onto that this year and be okay with that and let them know that they are part of everything that I do. It's not me, it's them, the space that is created here is because of the people that are in the room, not because of me. So adapting through COVID, obviously, fitness was a no-go, right? So learning technology, as Courtney and I were discussing at the beginning of this, technology, not my friend. And I was super reluctant. I can't do it. I cannot do this. I don't know how to engage, because Zumba is so high energy and you are feeding off the energy of other people. I was how am I going to teach a class to nobody, you know? And I would literally cry after every class because I hated it so much.
Yeah.
And then one of my instructors who teaches for me now, he lives in Chile. He's still an instructor for me. I did his class and I was like, I feel like I'm in the room with him, you know, like, how is he making me feel like we're in the same space? And I was like, if I can take a class here in Guelph and feel like I'm in Chile with him, I need to learn from this man. So I just watched what he did. I, you know, like, and he just was his normal self as if the people were in the room with him. And, you know, so I just learned to do it that way. The technology side, once you kind of like realize that you don't have a button that's going to make the world blow up if you press it wrong, you know, it's okay if something doesn't work, you know, you'll figure it out. And at the beginning, none of us knew, you know, we didn't know how to get a mic and play music and talk. And we didn't know how to do that. Right. So being okay with it not working was huge for me. Like stepping back and saying, people are going to understand if you make a mistake. One of my things I try to be with people is just like transparent with everything. I'm kind of an open book with them because I want them to see that I'm a human too, you know, and like they connect with that a lot better. And if you're just honest and say, I don't know what I'm doing here, guys, I'm trying. If you know, hey, you know how to do this, please, please go ahead, you know? So just adapting in that sense was big. Watching the fitness industry change like that. Thinking that you're in an industry that's kind of not going anywhere. And then all of a sudden seeing like, okay, this can change, you know? So just going on that roller coaster, you know, and staying on it and understanding that not every path on the journey is going to be a smooth one, and just riding out those bumps and learning them taking them as a learning tool, as opposed to, you know, the end of a situation or the, you know, demise of whatever you're trying to do. And it's hard. It is hard. I'm not going to lie. That's definitely the toughest part of it. I'm a very routine person. I like my, you know, so that's been a hard one to struggle for sure. But, you know, just sticking it out and knowing that the only thing we can do is grow from that has been kind of what's kept me going.
All right. So I got 2 questions that weren't on the list. I'm just throwing them at you. The first one is, how did you find the transition of originally working with a partner and then, like you said, kind of doing things on your own? And like, yes, you have your community. Yes, you have your people, but like, I've always kind of just done my own thing. So like decision making and like all that stuff. I just always wonder, like, how would that work if I've had other people work for me, but like, so how did it go from being a partnership to being solo? What were some of your pros and cons that you're like, oh my goodness, what am I doing?
This is a difficult question for me. And I know, you know, because personal wise. So I'm just going to put it out there. So I worked with my ex. So we had been a couple before. Yeah. We had been a couple before.
Sorry.
And that, right, exactly. And then we split up, but I was determined to not give up on this. This was my baby. This is what I had been doing. To be quite honest, he wasn't really around that often. He was traveling quite a bit for work. So I was really the one in the studio kind of doing it all. And I thought, I'm not going anywhere, you know? So we're either going to make this work or one of us is going to leave, you know? And it was really hard, especially with that, right? Where you're the one making the decisions, or you're the one, you know, if I want to paint a wall, I want to paint a wall, or if I want to, you know, change a schedule, whatever the case may be. Yeah. So it was really hard personally, because it was almost like a second breakup, because even though we had broken up, I never stopped seeing him, right? We worked together every day. We had that interaction. So here I was almost 7 years later, kind of going through another breakup again. And I respect him as an instructor and as a, you know, I valued him. I think he's great at what he does in terms of teaching. So it was a loss. It was a loss as a business. It was a loss as a person. But because we ended up getting a new space in that time, this has now become mine. You know, I built this. I did all the work myself. I got to choose what was going on. I didn't have to. And because of our past, those decisions were always a little bit harder than they needed to be, right? Yeah. So it wasn't as good as I would have liked it to be in that sense. If we had just kind of were able to put the past behind us and work together nicely, it would have been different, but it wasn't like that. So it was a weight off my shoulders of that, like, I don't have to argue. I don't have to fight for what I want anymore. I can do what I need to do. But that being said, I was very scared because I didn't know how the community was going to feel about us not working together anymore, if they felt like they had to choose a side, so I was very nervous that I was going to lose all my clientele, and and that I wouldn't be able to do it, right? I was like, what if this business is only staying afloat because of this other person, So there was that fear as well.
But you made the right choice.
I did it.
Look at you now. Oh, I love that so much. And that's so, I think that's such an important message of like, you can get through the hard parts and you can, get past, and like, exactly. I mean, I think that could be a full other episode just talking about like
100%
working with an ex and all those extra dynamics, layers and all of that stuff. But like, so good on you to like, be like, no, this is still what I want to do in my project, and I'm not letting any of this ruin that. So how is it being in this beautiful new space that, like you said, is yours and you get to decide?
I truly love our space. I do. I wish it was a tad bit bigger, but the building and everything, it's just worked out so well. Even though this building was built in 2016, it's actually been empty until last year. So we all kind of moved into the building at the same time, which created a really great community vibe. We do things together. When one of us is hosting an event, we invite everybody in the building to do it. So it's almost like we're growing together, even though we're not necessarily the same businesses. It's
all very different industries, right? Like very
exactly. Yeah. There's a kids dental clinic, an orthodontist, so it's not like we necessarily are in the same fields, but at the same time we are, so the community that we have built here, like, I could cry every time I just talk about it. One of the actually other people in the building had asked if they could use our space for a get together, and they had a guest speaker coming. And so I had come to the event and I was sitting in the audience, and so they didn't know who I was. It was all her people. And it kind of, it was great because it's one thing, right? When your people are like, this is great, I love it here, this is amazing. But to sit in the audience, and I was nervous at first because I was like, well, you got to be prepared for whatever people are going to say, right? And I could hear these ladies behind me talking, and they said, I just feel like I'm home in here. And I like melted into my chair, I was just like, that's the vibe that I want. I want people to come here and feel safe. I want them to feel like they're at home. I want them to know that they're in a safe space, to feel love, to feel community, right? And they just kept talking about it. I was just like, yeah. And then after the event, I heard one of them say something about one of the pictures I have up. And I said, oh, I got that from Walmart. And she was like, you're the owner? And I was like, yeah. And so, just getting an honest opinion like that from somebody made me, realize that even though our business has changed and we have had to move, it's not really our four walls that encompass who we are, right? It's the love and what we bring to it. So put any four walls around us and we're just going to make it shine the way that we need to make it shine, right? So for me, this is a home. I spend more time here than I do at my house. I take care of this place better than I take care of my house. And that's what I want people to feel. I want them to feel like they're at home here.
And I think that's so, like, business owners do sometimes get so connected to the space and they don't realize that really it is, like you said, four walls and you bring the magic. Like it's you and your community and what you're doing that really makes the space. And I agree. I've been in that space. It feels very comfy and home. There's a little corner with some cushions that I'm like, I could take a nap over there.
Oh yeah.
It's nice. It's very inviting. So we'll get back on topic a little bit, but what do you think is one of the hardest things about being in the fitness industry?
For me, I think that's a two-part. On a personal level, as much as I said, my journey through my own health and everything, that's still in my head, right? So even though I'm working to create that space for other people, and I know that that's not what fitness is about, still being, you know, what society would call a bigger person. Sometimes that's hard in the fitness industry. You know, I have heard the term fat fitness instructor, and it breaks my heart.
Right.
So that is hard. Imposter syndrome, I think, is, you know, probably the best label to put on it. Because yeah, you think, you know, like, am I doing the right thing? Should I be here? You know, because my body, and I would tell anybody that came to me saying that, like, you're crazy. That's not what it is. But because of that trauma and that buildup, I would say that for me personally, that's the hardest thing about being in the fitness industry. I
Yeah.
get very big anxiety when I'm asked to go somewhere else to do an event that the person doesn't know me,
Yeah.
because I'm afraid I'm going to show up and they're going to be like, "You're a fitness instructor," you know, like that's the kind of things that
Yeah.
go on. So my own battle with myself is one of it. The second thing that I would say on the business side of it, the downfall from COVID was that it taught people that there's a lot of free options out there now, right? So you can YouTube a workout. There's so many free apps. So that part of it did kind of hurt the
For
fitness
sure.
industry. So trying to stay, you know, relevant in a time where there's access to everything online, that is a big struggle right now for sure.
I bet too, just trying to like show your people the value of coming in and being part of the community. And like you said, that like
Yes.
that energy and that at home vibe that like
Yeah.
sometimes you don't necessarily get when you're watching on a screen from
Exactly.
home or
Yeah.
pre-recorded anything. Like
Yeah.
if you want that little bit more of interaction and it's really fun and cool, like, yeah, I bet it does
Exactly.
take people a little
That was actually one thing too, like when the divide kind of did happen, we were mainly virtual at that time.
Yeah.
And fitness was just starting to come back to in person. And that was one thing that I said, do not make this announcement until I find a spot for in-person classes, because I knew that people getting back together again, that would have value, and that would show people and remind them of what it was like to be a community again. And so, yes, we had adapted to this online version, but that connection with people was gone, right? And so that was key for me. Like, I need to show people that I'm working to find an in-person space and that we are going to bring our community back together again. And you're going to remember what it feels like to come in and, you know, ask so-and-so how their grandkids are doing or how their kids are doing, and to have that personal connection again, because it makes a huge difference, you know. And we do both. We have Zoom and we have in person. So it's been great that way. But the number of people that say like, oh my gosh, it's just completely different. And you push yourself harder on an in-person class, right? At home, you know, the cat needs you to pet it 10 times, or your kid needs something, or, you know, so there's all those distractions. So yeah, there is a value to in-person, but I totally understand for people that can't do it or around their work schedule, you know, so we have both options now.
I love that. So you mentioned community, and I think that's something that you do incredibly well. I'm constantly seeing on social, like, oh, we're up to this, we're up to that. Oh, look how cute we are at 6 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, oh my God, you people are crazy. But I love it. And I think exactly when you're saying you're trying to make this home, you're making everyone comfortable.
Yeah.
So how do you think you have created such this strong sense of community with your clientele?
Yeah, for me, I think going back to that, like, just being honest with people, they value that more. They have more of a personal connection with you. And when you're spending this kind of intimate time with people, it's kind of hard not to get to know them on a personal level, right? Which I will say the flip side of that does make it a little bit hard to run a business sometimes. Finding that divide of friendship, family, and you know, I still have to run a business has been a little bit tricky, but I wouldn't want it any other way. And, you know, like you said, in the space here, we have a whole photo wall. We have 2 now of just pictures of stuff that we've all done together. And we do everything from, you know, going out for dinner, going bowling, celebrating somebody's birthday, you know, big bike, you know, we do all of these things outside of the studio as well as parties in the studio, because we're so connected with each other, you know. And for me, that is so important. And I remember when everything did happen and we had moved here, and I had said to them, like, you know, I thought I was going to be doing this alone, but I'm not, you know, I'm not doing it alone. And if I asked any one of them, if I called any one of them and said, I'm on a podcast today. I need you to come and just hold the camera. I know any of them would come and just hold it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so having that makes a huge difference. I can't be successful without them. They're also my advertisements, right?
Oh, I bet.
Like they're walking advertisements for the studio. So, whatever they're talking about, what we do, that's, reflects on us. So, yeah, I've worked in gyms. I've worked in gyms. I don't even think I need to say anything more than that. I've worked in gyms where they don't even say hi to you as the instructor. They literally show up for class, they run in, they're fighting for a spot. Nobody talks to each other. Nobody says anything.
Yeah.
Gone, and I hated it. It's just not my jam, and I get it. That's for some people, but it just wasn't for me.
Well, especially for Zumba, I feel like you said, it's like this party, we're welcoming,
right?
let's do this together. Let's have fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's not supposed to be so serious.
Serious.
But, yeah. Steph, when it comes to your business, I'm very curious. Are you like someone who likes to set specific goals, or are you someone that are like, okay, I'm just going to see what happens?
It's funny because I'm a very big planner. Like I'm very big on this is what we're doing. This is how this is set up. But when it comes to goals for the studio, I don't know why. I have a goal. Like I do have this is what I would like to see. But I haven't been which shocks me. When you asked me this before, I was like, that's very interesting, because if you were to ask anybody about if Steph runs an event, it's like, this is what we're doing.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
That goes over there. This is how this is, I have it mapped out. But when it comes to the business, it's like, yes, I know what I would like to see. And I'm a doer. So if I need something done, I'm getting it done and it's going to happen. But I've never put pen to paper with it for some reason. And I don't know why that is, to be honest with you. I definitely have goals for the business, but I don't know. Yeah, that's one that I just haven't done as hardcore as I would everything else. Yeah.
Awesome. You know what? I will admit, I am just getting to the spot of I think I'm the same as I have ideas and I make things happen, and that's awesome. Yeah. But there's bigger goals that I'm like, wait a second, I actually need to stop and figure out how I'm going to get there and what that's going to look like. And I feel like that has just been this past year of slowing down, because I think you're kind of like me in that creative, oh, it's happening. Things are already going and that's, that end goal, but we haven't actually sat down and wrote all the things.
Pointed it. Yeah.
So funny. This one's a little toughy, but what do you think's you're most proud of with your business?
Ooh, most proud of. That is a hard one. You know what? I think for me, just sticking with it. Love my family dearly. They are very supportive, but they don't understand this. I also do reflexology and natural healing. And that's not something that I grew up with. This is not an industry that I grew up in. My parents are very you get a job and you work, and that's just it. Right. So, and I lived the first part of my life like that. I just found work. I did what I had to do. I kind of worked for other people, my husband, he wanted to go back to school. So I'm working full time to pay the bills so that he can live his dream. And that's kind of what my life was like. So to find something that you love and do a job that you love and that you're passionate about. I mean, there was years that I didn't have a vehicle because I couldn't afford one. So I got rid of my car. I was taking the bus. And that just was mind boggling to my parents. Why would you do that? Why would you wake up at 5:30 to go teach a fitness class or say why, So for me, I think my proudest thing is not giving in to what other people think that you should be doing with your life. Because at the end of the day, it's my life, and I don't need to live it for somebody else. So I think just sticking with it and seeing it through and making sure that I'm seeing it for as long as I feel like is the right time to see it through, not because somebody else tells me that I shouldn't be doing it anymore. So that's what I would have to say that I'm most proud of, I think.
And you should be. And 11 years is huge. That is so, so impressive.
Blows my mind when I think about it.
I can't believe it's this close to your like 11th year. Like I'm just so
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah.
I would have brought a little cake or something if I'd known.
Oh, you're so sweet. Yeah.
I-
It actually just occurred to me the other day. I was like, wait a second, that's going to be coming up. Yeah.
That's so impressive. All right. So another switching gears a little bit again. But have you ever had to deal with negative feedback, whether it was on social media or like even just during classes or the business in general, and how you kind of handle that?
Yeah. So, you know what? I've been very fortunate on social media, knock on wood. And I've seen a lot of people that haven't been so fortunate. But we've been pretty lucky. We haven't really had anybody say anything too damaging. But I have had situations where, again, I was teaching at a gym and I was asked to sub a class for somebody else. And I was fairly new at this gym. And so I went to go sub the class, and there was 4 people in the front. And it was just like scowl, the whole time. And I'm like, oh my gosh, a Zumba class.
Right.
I'm like, they hate this. They hate me. They hate this, and I can hear them, grumbling. Yeah. And now I'm starting to get nervous, right?
Which
because
is
again, my head is
so
like,
annoying as an instructor. Like you can feel
Yes.
those vibes and you're like, what is happening?
Exactly.
Why am I doing this? Oh gosh.
Exactly. So, the one is like, this isn't how our instructor does this class. And so I'm like, I completely understand that. And I know that as a Zumba instructor, that's one of the things I love about Zumba is that every instructor is different and everybody's style is different. That's what makes Zumba so amazing, because there's going to be somebody for you. So I totally understand if I'm not your cup of tea. Totally get that. But there is a way to go about something like that, right? So now I'm getting frustrated. They're literally in front of me. And I look out the corner of my eye and I see the manager, the fitness manager, looking in the room. And again, I had maybe only been there for about a month. And they just peace out. They just leave the class, 4 of them. Yeah. So now I'm like, don't cry. Don't cry. Just keep teaching. There's other people in the room. Just keep going. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Longest hour of my life. Okay. Everybody leaves and I see the manager coming and I'm like, nope, I can't do this. I'm a very emotional person. So I'm like, I need my time to cry, And so she comes in, she's like, can I talk to you? And I said, no. I said, no, you can't. And she was like, no, seriously, I need to talk to you. And I was like, I can't talk to you right now. And she said, listen, I came because I know that those women do that to people, that they have done this in the past. And I said, that's awful. You like, when you sign up for the class, you had to sign in online. You see who the instructor is.
Yeah,
You see
it's
not your normal instructor.
Yeah.
So don't come. Just don't come then, right? And I said to her, I actually reverted back to the studio and I said, listen, if any of your instructors came to my studio to teach a class, I can guarantee you 110%, I can guarantee you, even if it was the worst class my students had ever done, they would not dare leave that room. If they were already here to do the class, they wouldn't leave that room and they wouldn't say a word about it. They might come to me after privately and say, ooh, you know what? We didn't really enjoy that person. And again, I would take that with a grain of salt. If it was one person, I would say, hey, that person wasn't for you, right? But I said, they would never make somebody feel that way. Like to do that to someone, that is so damaging. And what does that give you? Like, are you going to go and gloat about that to other people now that like, oh yeah, we walked out of there, like to me, that is just so rude, So, and I was devastated. So yeah, that's probably the hardest one that I've had to deal with.
That's pretty bad. And it is that other concept too. Like, obviously I teach like kids and musical theater and stuff like that, but like you do put your heart into it when you're putting together choreography and picking the songs and like putting yourself out there. And like, it is a relationship back and forth with your, your people. So I can't imagine those grumpy faces. That would just be so
it was awful.
Oh my goodness. Oh, all right. Well, we are getting closer to the end here. So I have a few quick questions, but who is somebody that's really inspiring you right now? Because I know it can change.
Good question. Who's inspiring me right now? You know what? I'm gonna say my dad. So my dad had a stroke not too long ago. And he was kind of a very hard person, like just emotionally, not, we don't show emotions in my house, except for me. I cry all the time. I cry for everyone else.
You're like sharing it. Don't worry, guys. I got it.
I'll give it all to you.
Yeah.
But he's really kind of opened up the last couple of years, just in terms of like being a little bit lighter about life and not giving up. He hasn't been able to return back to work, but he keeps pushing on. He keeps doing little tasks to kind of get himself going. And looking at a situation that happened to him, that it could put you into a bad spiral, right?
For sure.
And being honest about it. And he would probably kill me if he finds out that I said this, but like talking about depression and not being okay in a situation. I was very proud of him, because in his day and time, you would never talk about something like that. And he was very open about it and came to us and said, like, I need some help. Right. So, watching him change at such an older age has been, reminds me that we're never stuck in whatever we're in. We can there's always that opportunity to change something if we're not happy with it, and change even stuff about our personality if we're not happy with it, So, I would say it would have to be him.
Oh, I love that. That's so sweet. Oh, it's true though. There's so many, like, so many people just think we're so set in our ways, but there's always opportunity to change. There's always opportunities to grow. And I just love even seeing like our generation compared to our parents, compared to like kids coming up, like all the different changes, and like some stuff stays the same, but a lot of it is like totally different. So I love some of the stuff that now, I agree, like mental health and depression and all of that it's much more open conversation, and everybody can just chat and see how you're feeling and what's happening, and how to get help and how to talk to somebody, and like what that looks like now. Like it's totally different and very
exactly
for a lot of people. So that's such a good, inspiring story. Do you have a must read book right now that you're like really enjoying? I think others,
what, this is very embarrassing, but so I never read before. I wasn't really a reader. I would be that person that was like, I'm going to read this book, and I would buy it and it would sit unopened. But this last year, owning your own business, like, it can be 24/7. It can be, and if you let it be, then it's going to be. And everything's on my phone, right? So I was constantly on my phone. I was always, either on my laptop watching TV, on the phone watching TV with my family, So last year I decided that I needed to stop doing that. So I have a heated sheet, which if you do not have a heated sheet, you need a heated sheet. Okay. Whoa. So
I think I might have to check that out on Amazon after this conversation.
They are so good. So now at 9:00, my phone goes on do not disturb. There's no questions asked. There's nothing that's going to be, that the business is going to need me for. The phone goes off. I get a book. I turn my heated sheet on, and I get in bed and I read my book, and I do not touch my phone until I'm tired. I go to sleep. So I don't even check to see what time it is. I read until I'm tired and I go to sleep. So I've read quite a few. I've really gotten into memoirs. Memoirs, just stories about people's, lives and how they've changed it. I just read this book. It's called I Should Have Honor. And it's about a girl that grew up in Pakistan, and she grew up in a tribe where the honor killings were a thing. And so it was all about moving her family out of that. So just like reading these stories about people who have gone through some pretty crazy things in their lives and have come out ahead and have kind of worked through this. So I've really been into reading about all of that. I just started Trevor Noah's book, who grew up in South Africa. So, all these crazy stories about these hardships that people have. So I can't really say that there's one in particular, because I've really been drawn to this kind of genre of it, of just seeing like people go through crazy experiences and still, fighting to become who they want to be.
That's so crazy. I agree. I go through like ebbs and flows when it comes to reading. And sometimes I have to be like, okay, no more business books. I'm going to go back to like just fun books. And then I switch back and forth. And I agree. But it is nice once you like start again, you're like, oh yeah, this is so nice. Like you just forget that it's such a nice little like pastime. I don't know.
and it, you know, calms you down, brings you down for the end of the night. Like for
For
me, it's just
sure.
been, and the more I started doing it, it was like any other practice, right? The more I started doing it, the more I got into it, the
Yeah.
more I found that relaxation and peace in myself and in my
Yeah.
business and everything else, right? So, yeah.
And then you added the heated sheet and you took it next
Oh,
level. So I
the
mean, come
heated
on,
sheet is needed. Oh, yes. You might not get out of the bed then, though.
I might not. It's fine. It happens. Awesome stuff. Can you share with my audience how they can find you? What is the easiest like website or socials?
Yep.
Where can they find you?
So our everything is Shake It Off Studio. So the website is shakeitoffstudio.com. Our Instagram is Shake It Off Studio. And I've combined everything so that the healing sessions and healing parts that we do as well is all on the same website instead of having two different ones. So
Yes.
everything is under Shake It Off Studio.
I love that so much. Okay, well, Steph, thank you so much for coming on the show
Thank you.
today. I really appreciate this conversation. It was just so good to see such a strong female business owner and 11 years. Like I didn't even know it when I asked you. I've seen your business grow and change and adapt so much over the years. And I just love what you put out there. I love, like I said, how you build this crazy community because everyone seems to love you. So I just wanted to learn a little bit more of that. And I hope my audience thoroughly enjoyed it. So
thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you. All right, guys. Bye for now.
Bye.